Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you all this evening to continue our reflection of the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life by Emmanuel through the hands of Chico Xavier. And we are all the way up to chapter 77, and it is titled One Should Reflect. And in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 19, James says it wisely. But everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And of course, our dear Emmanuel clarifies this very important verse by saying, analyzing, reflecting, and pondering are actually all forms of listening. It is essential for people to always be ready to determine the meaning of the voices, suggestions, and situations around them. Otherwise, it is impossible to carry out the simplest task in the ministry of the good. Only after listening carefully can a person speak in an edifying manner while on the pathway of evolution. Those who listen learn. Those who speak teach. One keeps, the other spreads. In the good experience, only those who keep can spread successfully. Therefore, James' advice represents an undying appropriateness. It is important to remember that just as people should be quick to listen and moderate with their words, they should be slow to anger. Of course, each and every day, the human pathway offers various reasons to act quickly. However, whenever possible, it is best to put off till the next day and any expression of anger, for that will often provide an opportunity to examine the matter more wisely, and the cause of the anger might disappear. We should bear in mind that all are born to carry out specific functions. If they always listen, they can be sure that they will calmly achieve the purpose for which they are destined. But if they are always talking, they might lose sight of their endeavor. Halfway through it, and if they are always getting angry, they will probably not accomplish anything at all. Big lesson today. What happens when we get angry? We go into fight or flight or freeze mode, right? When we get scared, a lot of the anger is also related to being triggered. And some of that trigger could be you afraid, you're scared. And how you react to it could either freeze, run away, or overreact. Of course, there's other layers of being angry and being scared and afraid. But I just want to put it all together because it is within the the emotions that clouds our wisdom, the clouds our vision, the clouds what we hear, clouds what we feel, because it kind of stagnates us in a way, in a moment where we lose sight of even what's happening around us, within us. To be angry, it's really to attack in a way, use that energy to go forward. Of course, in a positive way of using anger is to build, to grow, to learn, to serve, do charitable work, create, run a project, initiative, and clean your house. When we put anger towards a positive action for progress, evolution, and growth, that's amazing. And anger, it's very beneficial if it's canalized um, in a way that is positive for our spiritual growth. However, when we are not in the frontal cortex, we're not operating in the frontal cortex, but we are operating in the archaic cortex, the primitive brain, then anger becomes very animalistic, very barbaric. And that comes out very strongly, strong actions, strong words, destructive energy towards not only the people that are next to us, but towards ourselves as well. Remember, everything that we throw out, we receive first. So when we throw out positivity, we receive positivity. When we throw out negativity, it's passing through our channel, through ourselves. So we are also um, being impacted. So when we answer angrily, we are not only destroying um, things that it's outside of us, but we are really, really, really impacting ourselves. And that creates a lot of physical illnesses as well, because energy is, in a way, material, and it will solidify in our physical body after various periods um, being angry, and we are attracting all that negativity towards ourselves, and we materialize it, and then we're going to have to deal with it also later. But so what Emmanuel comes here to explain is that quick to listen. But why quick to listen? He says, those who listen learn, those who speak teach. So if we listen more, but we listen with the spirit of learning, not listening in a way of just quieting not only our mouth, but also our intellect. And just like the person's talking and you're just receiving and it's coming out. Of course, some stuff stay, but not everything stays, right? But when you're listening with the will to learn, then your antennas are working towards analyzing, processing, organizing, and putting into context the lessons being heard, the situations that it's happening. You're able to break it down and put it in the right file, I would say, right? And then he goes on to say, in the good experience, those who keep can spread successfully. Why? Because the message or whatever situation was received, was learned, was organized, and will be filed in a folder, let's say, and saved there nicely so that when you need, you can successfully go and click on that folder and extract and take out and spread the learning when it's needed. However, when we are talking all the time, then yes, they say people who teach learn, right? The teacher kind of, in a way, learns more than the students. Um, I agree with that to a certain extent. Like if you're just speaking because you memorize something and you teach, yeah, you kind of, in a way, if you are really meaning to learn from your teachings, yes, you will learn much more. But we have to have a spirit of learning always. Um, so the responsibility also of speaking, because what you teaching will be impact. It will have an impact on the life, um, on the life of others and your life as well. And he goes on to say, um, when one is listening, the other one is spreading. So what do we want to spread? Do we want to spread just what's disorganized in our minds and in our hearts? Yeah, we can. There's nothing wrong with it. We can always do that. And sometimes it's beneficial just to talk, right? Talk to a friend or talk to ourselves, talk to our pets, just to kind of see what's happening inside of us. Yeah. But um, are we listening to ourselves too? Are we reflecting on what's coming out? then it's so beneficial too, because then you can now work on all these emotions and all this negativity that's happening within us. And then when we talk, we'll be much more, I would say, peaceful without causing so much harm. And then he says, it is important to remember that just people should be quick to listen and moderate with their words. They should be slow to anger. So we spoke about that. Slow to anger and sleep on it, right? Somebody said something, triggered you. When you go back and you want to say something back, take a pause. Viktor Frankl, from the book Men Searching for Meaning, he said, he was part of the concentration camp, and he said that between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom and our growth. So what do we want to do within that space? Do we want to just say something back to somebody or a situation? Or should we give that space? Because there it lies our freedom and our growth, freedom to speak and maybe take a deep moment, a deep breath in that moment, and then and be free of that negativity of not being back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, where we go nowhere. We just end up hurting ourselves more and more and more. So sleeping on it allows us to work on ourselves by, before we go to bed, we can reflect, why did I get upset? Or maybe the other person had a hard day. Maybe the other person was triggered some way and ended up coming home or seeing me or the next person, seeing and kind of like throwing out everything that was not organized within their minds and their hearts. So maybe it wasn't meant for me, or maybe it was meant for me, but hey, I mean, if somebody is saying something mean, it really shows that the person is not doing well, right? And in the end of the day, is between the person and God. The question is, how are you going to respond? I say that, but I'm working on that as well. It's not an easy thing to do, because when things start to boil up, that's when we really have to stop and use the tools that we are learning to calm ourselves down, to say, hey, let's remember to pause. Let's remember that between that stimulus and that response, there is a space. In that space, I choose how I want the conversation to continue, or how I want that experience to continue to be. It takes two to tango. I heard that before, and it's kind of true. It takes two to tango. And I love that. He says, Emmanuel says, if they always listen, they can be sure that they will surely achieve the purpose for which they are destined. That's great. So let's do that. Wow, what a great reminder for me. Great reminder. Let's listen and learn and organize our own inner house, so that we are not bouncing back to other people the negative energy. Dear God, Master Jesus, we thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity of growth, of learning. Thank you for teaching us that we have the power to reflect on our actions every single moment in our lives. Help us to become more wise. Help us to become better listeners. Help us to become less to judge, less to anger. Please, more peace in our lives by staying quiet, by analyzing, reflecting, by working on ourselves and our triggers. Help us to contribute less to the anger that is being put out in the atmosphere every single day. Help us to not litter in a way of negative thinking, negative actions, negative responses, using the tool of reflection to guide us through our spiritual growth. Be with us, Master Jesus. Support us. Of course, continue to support us like you always have been. Give us the wisdom, the energy of the wisdom, so that we can create our own wisdom through our sweats and also our tears. But help us to always remember that we can always pause. We don't always have to reply to negative thinking, to negative emotions. Help us to harmonize our hearts, our minds, organize our minds so that we can contribute to the world. We can contribute to the good. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.